documentaries that I've drawn on different historical events and different characters. This is part of my series of lives of various famous artists. But this particular person is a writer, and I originally created this one for his 60th birthday. That was a few years back, but here we've resurrected it. This is the story of the life of Alan Moore, the guy some people say is the greatest comic book writer of all time. Somebody had to make a biopic of his life, and even on a low budget, it fell to me to actually get it done. So here is our low budget biopic on Alan Moore. Alan Moore lives in Northampton, England, where he was born November 1953. He was a comic reading loser, then a teenage drug abuser, then he got expelled for selling students LSD. At 19, he was broke and he was married. Cleaning toilets was the job that he was worth. After further desperate stages, he was making comic pages, the only less respected job on earth. For NME and Sound and other little papers, he drew small comics like Maxwell the Magic Cat. He soon began drawing all sorts and writing all sorts of 5-page science fiction shorts for Doctor Who and British comic books like that. And then a magazine called Warrior got started and let him write some longer stories than before. So he started Marvel Man and V, which blew away the industry, but at first were black and white and quite obscure. By '83, the US DC Comics grabbed him to write for Swamp Thing, which was selling rather poor. But when his stories hit the stands, there soon were tons of Swamp Thing fans, because no one wrote comic books like Alan Moore. And then came Alan's biggest concept, which was Watchmen, a series like no book or comic had been ever. It was rougher, it was realer, but what truly sealed the deal were his techniques were so bizarre and new and clever. So Moore got rich, but he soon hated being famous. Pursued by fans and Hollywood and business sharks. He'd drawn his magic cat non-stop, but in protest let that drop when the newspaper made some anti-gay remarks. So he quit the mainstream, seeking total independence, and lived a counterculture marriage made for three. But his printing ventures crashed, the women left with all his cash, and Moore was briefly sort of cut adrift at sea. But then, in 1993, when Moore turned 40, he announced that he was now a magic wizard. With makeup and a mic on, he does rituals for Glycon. That's his deity, a blonde-haired Roman lizard. His philosophies inform his scripts and novels. He now sees writing as a supernatural act. He hexes films of his old comics, rejects his name appearing on them, and he refuses all the money too, in fact. In Promethea, he wove in the Kabbalah. From hell explored how myths shape modern life. When Lost Girls was his focus, he made a pornographic opus, and the woman who did the art became his wife. With Melinda, Alan still lives in Northampton. His daughter Leah became a comic writer too. When he writes, speaks, or performs, he always disregards the norms, always striving to make something cool and new. So from octopi to occupy, they're in his crew, and a lot of strange things that he used to say have now come true. So keep on going, Alan. We love the things you do. Even though Alan Moore is a rather reclusive guy who rarely leaves Northampton, I was able to meet him at a British music festival backstage. I just sort of ran up to him and showed him this thing that I made. I was too scared to tell him the whole story of it. I was like, I made this thing. Can we take a quick photo? And then I ran away. But I also should announce that I have this book on the merch table, which is my own long critical analysis of Watchmen's sort of insane musings. And it's a lot of words, but it also has some images from the Watchmen comic that are maybe not necessarily legal for me to use. I'm not sure how that sort of thing works, but I do have some copies there, so you can buy it before I get some sort of legal injunction against me. Thank you.